You missed, I was showing off the various DSP filtering features. Coming back to our notch filter. The manual notch will just completely and utterly take it out of the IF. And you completely regain the receiver sensitivity. Dual watch will increase the noise, the idle channel noise by 3 dB because you're combining the noise of two channels. It's another minor inconvenience with dual watch, but if you're not using dual watch, you can always turn it off.
Sure.
And you can also use XFC if you're in split mode. It doesn't do much for you unless you're in split mode. Dual watch and split work very nicely together, and now I'm looking for the split button. No, that's done. Yeah, here we are. So, but then you can have dual watch and split. This is very valuable for chasing DX because with dual watch and split, you can listen to the other to the transmitting station's frequency as well, you can listen to the transmitting station's listening frequency as well as its transmitting frequency. So
is that what a lot of DX chasers do? Is they listen on both frequencies?
They listen on both frequencies with the dual watch.
If you can. What this is a super.
Yeah. Now the 7700 doesn't have dual watch, but you can use the XFC button.
So, and the notch was being accomplished. The manual notch, was that being accomplished with the DSP, or was that manual?
No, the manual notch is a DSP function. Okay. And so the notch filter is 70 dB deep. Now I wanted also to show you the noise reduction, which increases the signal to noise ratio by about 20 dB. The noise reduction is adjustable. You can normally leave it around here. If you crank it up too high, it will reduce the high frequency audio response a little, but not by much. Then there's a noise blanker. If we don't have enough, let's see, we should be able to take this out. Oh, that's splatter from our station. But you see, the noise blanket doesn't degrade the audio. It's cranked up quite high now, and it doesn't degrade the audio performance.
Is the noise blanket and the noise reduction built around any kind of noise, or is it really centered around specific kinds of...
The noise reduction will reduce band noise. The noise reduction is primarily, it's optimized for fast rising RF impulses. Noise spikes, power line noise, ignition noise, this kind of thing. Does a really good job on it. But it's of course some noise will not be taken out by the noise blanket if it's mains frequency harmonics from a dirty street lamp or something. The noise blanket may have a hard time with it, like any other noise blanket.
So in the history of the Pro 3, because it's been out a while, obviously the reflectors with the users out there, they're always bad-mouthing something. So there's been little minor things they talked about on the Pro 3. Most of all those things been looked at in the 7600.
Well, I think
I can't be specific.
The Pro 3 has been a very satisfactory radio. There have been some concerns about the fact that the noise blanker is limited in some situations. It won't knock out noise. The noise blanker I found, the noise blanker in the 7600 is much superior to that of the Pro 3. I have a demonstration on my website where it completely knocks out noise that was wiping out WWB. It's hard to test it here because we don't have that type of noise.
What is your, I know you haven't made all your tests yet, what tests you have made on the blocking dynamic range we talked about earlier between the Pro 3 and the
Okay, I haven't tested blocking dynamic range on any of the radios because when I had the Pro 3, before I got the 7200, I didn't have good enough test setup to do blocking dynamic range. What I used to measure the IMD3 dynamic range of first the 7200 and then the 7600 was an HP signal generator and a very clean crystal oscillator. I'm now getting a second signal generator. So the next radio I test, I'll do the...
But with just your working knowledge of this radio, based on the published numbers from RSGB and Bob Sherwood and whatever on the Pro 3, what do you expect to see?
I think this one will be better than the Pro 3 because the narrow roofing filters will help. That's what I saw with the tests I did on this radio. The narrow roofing filters will definitely help matters. You know, you really only have to worry about a third order IMD dynamic range under very extreme crowded band conditions, but then another thing to remember is that the dirty transmitter at the other end is going to limit the usable dynamic range of the system anyway. You can have a blocking dynamic range of 95 dB, but when your munge is 60 dB down, that's your usable dynamic range.
You know, we're in a funny spot right now. With the sunspot where it's at right now, and propagation where it's at, it's not a big deal. You know, hopefully in 3-4 years it will be a big deal.
Well,
and then, you know, are you going to buy another radio, or do you have a radio that's going to handle it?
The thing is, it's the other side had better clean up its transmitter first.
Yeah.
Now, this is a really major issue. If it's not, if something isn't done to correct it, we'll see we'll see a more aggressive regulatory posture, probably at the ITU level.
But if you're going to expect the big DX guy out there, the DX on the actual DX is probably going to have a good transmitter.
Well, he may not necessarily have a clean transmitter, because
but he's got all seated equipment from ICOM, so it's going to be great equipment, right?
Well, not necessarily. He may be using a commercial, very high power amplifier, which is somewhat overdriven by whatever excited.
They may have the setup wrong.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
If he has an ICOM radio, the transmitter will be clean as long as it's not overdriven. The trick is, don't turn all the knobs to the right. This radio has quite a variety of audio adjustments as well in the menu. You can set SSB receiver, tone, bass and treble equalization, or high and low pass filters. Yeah, you can set. Sorry about that. You can adjust these to suit the received audio. You've got similar adjustments on transmit, where you can adjust the bass and treble equalization, and you can adjust the lower and upper cutoff frequencies of the transmitted audio frequency response. 100, 200, 300 or 500 hertz at the low end, 2300, no, 25, 27, 28 or 2900 at the high end. And the three preset groups of settings, which those are the default values, but you can adjust them. And things like side tone level, beat level, speech synthesizer level, etc. are also adjustable. You can adjust its adjustment of compression is very convenient. There's a compression scale, and you can set the compression level. This selects the occupied bandwidth. For any of these settings, you can select the compression level, and there's an indicator which will show you how much compression you have, which should run about 6 dB on voice peaks, no more than that.
You mentioned a while ago the voice recorder. Can you voice record off air and then play it back?
No, that's not allowed. There are some countries that don't allow it, so ICOM has never implemented that.
Because I have it, some people have done it. Some of the other radios that allow it.
Some of the other radios allow it. ICOM doesn't because of regulations in some countries. But you can always use an external recording device.
Sure.
Well, he's probably covered